If you look at 21st century organization, it's all about people, because talent and knowledge and leadership is the key currency that organizations have for competitiveness in today's environment. And we have to make sure that we align our processes to bring out the best in people and to really engage and inspire people and tackle that potential and that passion that is there. And in today's organizations, that is not necessarily the way it's done. So we have to bring people operations and HR into the 21st century.
We find the Scrum process fascinating. Agile principles have been something that has changed the life of our school. It's changed the culture of our school. It's changed the way I lead at my school. It's changed the way that I'm managed by my own supervisor.
We started working with some more mid-sized companies and entrepreneurs. And as we started working with these companies, what's most important? Well, they need cash flow, right? And that's essential. Even Forbes talks about so many businesses fail that don't have the proper cash flow. So yes, they need Scrum. Yes, they need Agile for their processes and absolutely to get a product out to market. But then what? Right? So if a company is focusing on developing a product or a service and they haven't appropriately marketed it, they run into a similar problem where if they have great marketing but don't have a great product or service, right? So they need both. After working with lots of companies with Agile outside of IT, we discovered there's a huge opportunity and benefit and a need in the marketplace for companies to understand how to apply Agile to marketing. What was really interesting is we're working with a company that started applying some of these Agile techniques, and we got over 300% growth in 6 months and more than 780% growth in a year. And that's incredible, right? So we said, well, wait a minute, let's see if we can replicate that. We then launched a case study program. From there, we were able to duplicate some of these practices, and the first person in that program, their first campaign applying Agile to marketing sold over $30,000. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute, I think we're really onto something now. And that's when we founded the Agile Marketing Academy. We wanted to bring together those core practices that we've seen work, and now we've created an online platform and community to share these best practices.
When you look at a higher level, the Army military decision-making process is the broader construct of the Scrum framework. And when you go one level above that, at a large organization, that's classic Prussian military war theory. It's lean. The patterns have just been repackaged, but they are used together. Centralized planning, decentralized execution.
So we started our Agile adoption with a couple of pilot projects. We felt that if we could get some good stories that would allow us to talk about the success, we could grow the approach. One of our divisions went, the investment division went all in, and so that was a really great place for us to bring people to stand-up meetings or Scrum sessions and kind of introduce them to the approach. So we've used kind of a natural adoption is what we've called it, and growing to the point where we have about 30 teams now running.
Really, there seems to be this great divide between IT and many other parts of an organization. So whether that's marketing, whether that's HR processes, whether it's just any other department that would need to interact with IT, because we've spent so much time there consulting them, helping them become more agile in development. However, then when they go to interact with, even if it's approvals, even if it's the sales, you always hear about sales departments promising dates that then the teams have to deliver to. And the challenge there is that because the teams are so agile and the other parts of the business are not, it creates that huge bottleneck. And we're not able to truly become an agile organization unless we have that common language and those common practices.
We've consciously looked for ways to affect the rest of the organization to get them thinking about it. Early on, one of our biggest allies was the HR department. We knew that we would need them to make this happen. And so I gave the HR director a book on Scrum. I gave her Brian Raven's book, Scrum for the Rest of Us. And I found that in the next meeting when I came back, she was quoting things out of the book. She'd actually read it, she understood the principles, and she used that then to help us write job descriptions for all of our positions. So she sort of started to understand it. Eventually then we took her to an open space. That was a bit of a challenge for an HR director, but she went, she experienced it. And then she had to do a renovation on her floor. They were doing all new furniture, and she needed somewhere to sit for about 2 months. And so we moved them onto our floor. We all kind of squeezed in and just brought the HR department in. And by the time they left, all of her groups are doing morning stand-ups, and we had bought them whiteboards, and they had these rolling Kanban boards that they were moving down with them. So that's one more organization, you know, and one by one we'll move through the organization like that.
If you have Scrum teams that are doing perfect Scrum, brilliant Scrum, by the book Scrum, does that guarantee success? And the answer was no. That in and of itself is necessary but not sufficient to guarantee success. What I argued in that keynote was you have to do economically sensible Scrum, which means you have to embrace this at a broader level. You have to look at the economics of the choice, and you have to adopt core Agile principles throughout the value chain. And the value chain here is all the organizations: sales, marketing, legal, HR, finance, everybody who's touching this. And if you don't, long term, you won't be an Agile organization, and you probably won't get the value that you expect, even if you have great Scrum teams.